Right now, I want to introduce Ken Lindner, my dear friend and agent extraordinaire. He represents the who's who of the news media broadcast world. He's also a best-selling author. Kenny, welcome.
Daniel, pleasure to be with you and everyone you're with.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited about our chat. We've been talking about this for a minute.
Yes, my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, I want to get right to it. And, I want to let everybody here know. So, Kenny, just so you know, this group here is a group of very talented artists, mainly actors, who are building their own production companies out. We're helping them do that through DreamReach Media. They're in various stages of it. But, the one thing that we're all about here is the creative and financial independence of your life, the autonomy of building your own thing, and using the processes that are in place, gatekeepers for actors, casting directors, agents, managers, and stuff as tools to advance, but also not solely relying on them, and going out and getting your own stuff done in the meantime. And one of the reasons I wanted you on this particular chat with these particular people is because you're independent and you've done this all independently, and you've been offered quite a few deals to have your agency bought up, and you refused them. Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose to stay independent and what drives you to do it this way?
Sure, Daniel. It's a great question, and it's a multi-layered answer that I'm going to give you. The most important thing that I can tell everyone is know what you really want in your life, in your career. Take some quiet time, really think about it. What are your values? What will make your heart sing? What are you great at? And the reason why I say that is because before Aspire Higher, which is my current book, I wrote a book called Career Choreography. And I talk about in career choreography that there's a logical set of steps that anyone can take to put the percentages in their favor, that they will attain their highest goals and live their career dreams. And one of the first steps, I believe, is to take the time to know what you really, really want in your life, what you're good at, what will make you love going to work every day. Because as they say, and we've all heard the cliche, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I will tell you, I love what I do. And if I won the lottery tomorrow, I wouldn't change what I do. I may change some other things, but I wouldn't change what I do. I love seeing what can be in people and then helping them choreograph the steps to take them from where they are today to helping them fulfill their potentials. So it's really important, as I said, to know what you want, because then you can take the steps to get there. And in my career, I had to think about, first of all, whether I was going to stay as an attorney or I was going to become an agent, because I had the chance to work for a great entertainment law firm back in New York after I graduated from law school, or go to a major theatrical agency, which was the William Morris Agency, which was at that time the #1 theatrical agency in the world, certainly still one of the great theatrical agencies in the world. And I realized that I love being an entrepreneur. I love, as I said, seeing what can be in people. I loved contract law. And when I thought about all the things that made my heart sing, being an agent, being a talent representative, hearing that the Beatles had represented, that William Morris had represented the Beatles and Elvis and Robert Redford and Paul Newman and Al Pacino and Billy Joel and the Beach Boys, that excited me. They were taking books and making them into films. They were taking films and making them into plays. And it was just so exciting for me to think about that. Honestly, I wound up working for less than half of what the law firm offered me to start with mailroom wages, being a beginning attorney at William Morris, because I knew that if I loved what I did, everything else would work out. And one more step. Eventually, I went into the news area, became that entrepreneur, and really expanded their news area. And then at one point, I realized that maybe my values and William Morris's were a little different. I felt I could charge a lesser commission if I didn't find the job for my client, but just negotiated an existing deal. I thought it wasn't fair to take the full 10% if somebody already had the deal, if somebody was already at Entertainment Tonight or at their local station. I just thought I could do things better, and other things happened, and I really gave it a lot of thought. What would make my heart sing? And what would make my heart sing is doing it on my own and being an entrepreneur and being facile and not having to report to anybody. And being an only child and being a singles player in tennis, I was used to taking calculated risks, not risks, but highly calculated risks. And it was a bit of a risk because I didn't know who would come with me once I left William Morris. William Morris had great reputation, a great name. And when you hold up your own shingle, you're just not sure. But, as Kevin Costner said in Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. And luckily, about 99% of my clients came, and then many more did. And we've been, arguably the most successful, if not one of the most successful agencies with regard to what I do in the country for the last 33 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Kenny. That's so encouraging. And what I've always liked about you and Melinda is that your wife, who's a wonderful, talented singer, by the way, I kind of look at you as like the friendly great white shark, in my opinion, because in a way, when you think of an agent, a lot of times for people who haven't been exposed to agents and managers stuff, there's this kind of stigma in your head about what an agent is, this sort of fast talking car salesman type, kind of bullish, not too friendly, doesn't have time for anybody. Not you, Kenny. You're always your emails start with encouragement, happy, beautiful Sunday. You use words that are you're always upbeat and friendly and loving. And when you read Aspire Higher, guys, you'll understand part of why Kenny is the way he is. But I don't know if there's much to talk about or if there's something that you can say about it, but why have you made such a deliberate choice in your life to start every conversation and every interaction with such a positive mentality? And there's even a story that you give about a guy, a neighbor of yours, who's driving home very quickly and almost hits your dog. And your choice in how you address that was so nice and refreshing. Can you talk a little bit about why you are so positive?
Well, that goes back to the fact in Aspire Higher, I talk about the fact that if your heart is filled with love, you're more likely to bestow love and kindness and civility onto others. And I believe the formula that I set out in Aspire Higher is one of the ways to do that. And that is, you make choices that reflect your highest self, your highest values, and your highest goals. And you start with very small choices. You get your victories. You get your confidence that you can affect positive change in your life, your feelings of self-esteem and mastery. And as I said, confidence elevate. Your feelings of self-worth increase. Your self-image increases. And when you have confidence that you can make great life choices and that you're a constructive life choice maker, even in the face of great life detours, setbacks, and everything else, it gives you great confidence that you can navigate anything. And that's the feeling you want. And I will tell you, the more you begin to feel better about yourself, you develop something called self-love, where you feel like you're worthy of the great life choices that you make. You feel as if you deserve the great path that you're making for yourself, either personally or professionally. And when you begin to feel self-love, you begin to make choices that reflect that self-love. Because you care about your well-being, you care about your career, you care about your relationships because you feel you deserve really great ones. So that's where it comes from. And also, obviously, having loving relationships, hopefully with your parents, with your partner or spouse, with your children. They obviously instill lots of love in your heart. So I started out, as you know, from Aspire Higher, with feeling unlovable by my dad because I thought that because he wasn't there but was working so much, he might not love me. And I found out later that was not correct. He was just trying to give me the education he never had. We bonded later, and the love I lacked at the beginning was instilled later. So the long-winded answer, Daniel, is that I come at things with a full heart, which is why I want to be the wind beneath others' wings, because through career choreography and making the great life choices that I talk about, both career and life choices that I talk about in Aspire Higher, I have fulfilled many of my potentials. In fact, many would say that I'm an overachiever. And the way I have done that is through figuring out the choreography of everything. How do I approach each challenge, setback, goal, and put myself in the best position to succeed? So where it comes from is that love. It's so funny because when I first interviewed with the president of the William Morris Agency, and I was trying to weigh whether I should work for a law firm or for the William Morris Agency, I actually said to the then president, I think of an agent as a guy with a pinky ring and gold chains and Johnny Carson making, jokes about the 10%. And I look at an agent, and this was not necessarily a very sophisticated way of looking at it. And I said, sort of a slimy guy. And he said, there are reputable doctors, there are reputable lawyers, and there are ones that aren't. The William Morris Agency is the most reputable agency in the world. And if we weren't that, we wouldn't represent the caliber of the people that we represent. And then he went through that list that I articulated. And I was sold. But I'll tell you, I have always fought the sort of persona of the slick agent. I've never worn a shiny suit. I have no chains, no pinky rings. I try to be the exact opposite of that. I try to be authentic. I try to be real. And it's funny because I remember somebody who, when I was an attorney, and this guy was a major TV host, and I was doing a TV deal for him. And he asked me a question. And I said, Michael, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. And I called him back a couple of hours later and gave him the answer. And he was very appreciative. When I started my company, he was one of the first people who called me and said, Kenny, I'm going to leave William Morris and come with you. And he said, let me tell you why. He said, the day you said, I don't know, but I'll find out for you, showed me that you're real, that you're honest, that I can trust you. And the one thing I've always tried to make sure is that my clients feel that they can trust me. And I feel that in any business that you go into, you want to break through the clutter. You want to be different and better. You want to stand out in a really good way. And I think one of the ways I've been able to stand out is not only be effective for my clients, because I could be the world's greatest guy, and if I were ineffective, it wouldn't matter. But if you're effective and trustworthy, and you're effective and work hard, and you're effective and you work smart, you're going to be successful.
Nice. Thank you. And one question that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, because of the varying experiences that people have with agents, and I know you're not in the acting sort of space, but I think as an agent representing people like Mario Lopez and Lester Holt, I'm sure you definitely know maybe the answer to this. A lot of aspiring actors or established actors are constantly kind of complaining about how little their agents do for them, or are not satisfied in one way or the other, and they're looking for a new agent, or they want to up their game and go to a bigger agency. Now, you and I have spoken on separate occasions a lot about kind of your story and how to present yourself to agents and stuff. Could you maybe address a little bit what's actually going on behind the scenes, where maybe an agent isn't trying not to get their client work, or they're not trying to be rude when they turn somebody away, but there are certain things that you obviously look for as an agent that you need in place for yourself to be able to actually be that wind under their wings. Can you talk about that a little bit, like the relationship between an agent and an ideal client for you as agents, who that is and what they bring to the table for you, and how they articulate it so that you can work with them?
Sure. And by the way, what I do is not unlike representing actors and actresses. And in fact, one of the ways I became an agent when I was an attorney is I found this woman doing commercials, and I saw her on the edge of night, and I called her, and her name was Kate Capshaw, and I brought her into William Morris, and because I thought she had it, and they wound up signing her, and she got Raiders 2 and wound up marrying Steven Spielberg and all of that. And I found a few other actors and actresses before I became a news agent. But even what I do is very much like, it's casting. It is. It's just another form of it. And whether you're hosting like Mario Lopez, who, by the way, does some acting, obviously, it's really very similar. I'd like to talk about not only the ideal client, but the ideal agent. It's, first of all, it's really important to articulate to your agent what your values are, who you are, and what you're looking for, and what makes you special. Because remember, it's your agent who's really reflecting you. They are articulating what makes you special. And one of the things I think that works for my clients, and actually works for me, is I know a lot about my clients. And I think the people who I deal with who may hire them, the prospective employers, respect the fact I know so much about my clients. So it's imperative that you, as a talent, articulate to your agent what you want, who you are, and what makes you special. I mean, it's really important because that makes them more effective. One other thing that I think has worked for me, and you want to think about, is that there is this sort of interaction, I guess, or intersection, I should say, between access to the biggest people and passion for you. You want somebody who's passionate about you. And if you're at the beginning of your career, it's hard to get a big time, big name agent interested in you until you have a track record, or they see something that's just breakthrough. Oftentimes you want to find an agent that's on their way up, and they are so invested in you because your success is their success, and vice versa. They have skin in the game. It was really great for my clients that allowed me to sign them early on, because we were all growing together and I was invested in that. I didn't have the biggest contacts at the time, but a really creative agent will somehow get you in there. And somehow I was able to get, my clients in there. And the better the clients I had, the more credibility I got, the more times people would start to return my phone calls. But it is really important for any agent that you take on, and for them when they take you on, is you got to make sure that they're passionate about you, that they're engaged, that they see things through your eyes, that they see your gifts, because you need somebody who's just not doing a volume business or who's going to hip pocket you and just think about you, you know, for the moment. You need somebody that's engaged and ready to sell you. And when somebody says, I'm just not sure, I don't think so, they're not going to take no for an answer. That you go, no, let me tell you why my client is the best person. Let me tell you why I think it's so important for you to meet them. Let me tell you why it's so important for you to Zoom with them. Whatever it is, there's so many times when my clients have gotten groundbreaking, career-making positions because I didn't take no for an answer. And because I passionately believed that they were right for the job. Well, the only way an agent's going to passionately sell you is if they really believe it, if they're engaged and they really know what it is that makes you special. So it's important to be very articulate with agents that you're looking at. And I know it's COVID right now, but if you can meet with them, all the better. Zooming or Skyping, you're good, second best. But a personal meeting, if you can have it, is so important. They're engaged. They're not taking phone calls. Hopefully it's one-on-one and you have a connection. So important.
Yeah.
And I think those are all very important criteria with regard to an agent. And yes, sometimes an agent on the way up doesn't have the biggest contacts, but they might well be great to launch you. And just like, let me tell you, I did suffer some real, heartbreaks early on, because when I was a young agent, a couple of clients said to me, "Oh my God, Kenny, you were great in launching me, but now I need to go to, the person that had been doing it for 35 years." And that is so tough when you launch somebody and, you lose them. It's so funny. There's a great saying. When I first came to LA, there was a manager named Jay Bernstein who took Farrah Fawcett from, I don't know where, to Charlie's Angels and a few other people that became really important and impactful. And he met me, and I think he felt like, oh my God, this guy's so idealistic. And he said to me, "Let me tell you something, Kenny," because he had just lost Farrah Fawcett, I believe. When you take people when you take people into air that is rarefied, they become deified and you become nullified. Well, let me tell you, there are times when I felt nullified. But what's really important also is for you to understand, being an agent and getting an agent is very much also like the doctors that you go to. You can go to a general practitioner for a cold, and almost anybody can handle a cold. But when you need a particular kind of surgery, heart surgery, brain surgery, anything, you go to a specialist. And at some point, as you grow, if your agent doesn't grow with you, or you feel like your agent can't take you to the next step, I hate to say it, but you may need to look at a specialist who has the relationships in a special area. And I will tell you, as a sole practitioner, I have lost clients to major agencies because now that they have their major hosting gig, they want to produce, they want commercials, they want to write books. And yes, I can farm some of that out to various other agents, but they may want it all under one roof. And I've had problems in the past with that, but I understood it because they want to take their shot. This is their career. It's their one shot. Timing is everything. They want to give it their best shot. So now I'm taking myself out of being an agent and being, an advisor to you all. Really be cognizant of the relationships your agents have, and can they bring it at the beginning because they're passionate and get you, and can they bring it later as your career progresses? And you have to keep monitoring that.
Are there any ways that you can think of that a actor who either has a no agent at all or no manager or anything, or maybe has people in another state or representation that really isn't very responsive or helpful, can you think of action steps for them to even find and identify what the quote unquote specialist would be that would serve them? Are there, I mean, I always think about IMDb Pro. You can look at who has represented people who have gotten certain day player roles on TV shows. I always find that an interesting place to start. But how do you find like kind of your ideal match as an agent? And then how do you maybe approach them?
Well, I think that it's important to ask other actors or actresses or other producers or directors, whatever it is that you're pursuing, who are you represented by? Or who have you heard about is good? I've always believed, and I talk about this in Aspire Higher and in career choreography, a particle in motion attracts other particles in motion. Be in motion, be talking to people, be networking with people. You never know. I'm always, for example, I just wrote Aspire Higher. I'm always listening to people as to, what they did with their books, what shows they were on, what contacts they have. And I'll say, well, tell me about that person. Can I have that person's email? How do I get in touch with that person? Because you've always got to keep listening until you find the right match. And it's sort of like dating. You need to find the right connection. So first of all, be a particle in motion and talk to everybody, listen, ask questions, find out who sort of, or what the pool of potential agents is, and find out who they are and, how to contact them. The second thing is you've got to know how to get them into the tent. You've got to know how to grab them. So it's really important to know what makes you different, what makes you special. You believe in yourself. How do they see you? How you get them to see you through, their eyes. And so it's really important to grab them in the right way. Show your best piece of tape, whether you're a director or producer, show that best scene or that best film or that best documentary. And if you're an actor, show that great headshot, show immediately your best scene, because you may not have more than 10 seconds. People get so many submissions. You've got to get somebody to go, whoa. It's sort of like, and I tell this to my clients when I'm putting together a demo tape for them, sort of like a dance, high school dance in a gym. You see somebody and you go, whoa. It's really hard to go over there and say, to look at somebody and go, they have character. I mean, it's not really, you learn about the inner workings of people once you get to talk to them, but it's really oftentimes visual. Who gets your attention? Who do you want to go up to? Who do you want to dance with? Whatever. So you need the whoa factor. You need to grab somebody in the first 10 or 15 or 20 seconds to go, interesting. There was a woman, actually, I've only done this once, but there was a woman when I was a beginning agent at William Morris, and I didn't have lots of clients at the time, who sent me a picture of herself on a skateboard. And I went, whoa. And you know what it was? It was the light in her eyes. It was something about her that made me just say, interesting. And I wouldn't have taken her on until I read her resume. And her resume was that she was Phi Beta Kappa, University of Georgia. She was an All-American basketball player there. And she had a great resume. And remember, your resume is your home court advantage. This is what you're writing. So you put your best foot forward. You explain to somebody what makes you special and unique. Well, I called her, and she was already working, I believe, at Movie Time, which was the predecessor of E, the forerunner of E. And she was working with a guy who I ultimately signed called Greg Kinnear, who became a pretty good actor and became my client as well. And her name was Julie Bryan at the time. And because she knew so much about sports, I remembered that she had been an All-American basketball player. I wound up getting her a job on NBC Network with Ahmad Rashad called Inside Stuff. I then moved her. She got married, and her name is now Julie Moran. She became an Emmy Award winner on Wide World of Sports. Then she became the weekend host of Entertainment Tonight. And it was all from that picture and resume, because she didn't really have any tape at that time. She had just gotten the job. All she had was a college tape. But there was something about her that made me pursue it. And since I was a beginning agent, I had the time to do that.
Thank you. That actually confirms something I say here a lot, which is kind of, it's not about who you know, it's about who is thinking of you when an occasion arises that they could use you for. And in a sense, what you're communicating here is you as an agent need to take on clients who excite you and who you understand a lot about, also in their personal lives and their skills, so that when you are running in your circles and talking to your potential business partners and people that you affiliate with, that when that conversation of this new sports show or whatever comes up, you immediately pull her out of your memory and know that this girl might be a good fit for this thing right here, right? So it's almost like having that ammunition in the back of your head so that when you hear it, you can connect those dots.
Well, Daniel, the interesting part is, and this goes back to my first, an earlier thing that I was saying, is that I submitted Julie for this Inside Stuff job at NBC News. I'm sorry, NBC Sports. And the person who was running NBC Sports at the time was a guy named Terry O'Neill. And he said, you know what, I like her, but she's got no sports experience. And so pass. And that's the difference. Here we go. I said to Terry, listen, do you trust my taste? You've seen my taste. Do you trust my taste? He said, yeah. I said, I'm going to make you a deal. And, sometimes you just need to be brazen. And I said, I'll make you a deal. I know your favorite hotel, he was based in New York, is the Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles. I said, let's do this. If you interview Julie and she knows more than any of the people that you're going to interview, and you think she's the right person, then you pay for the trip and you hire her. If I'm wrong and she doesn't blow you away, I'll pay for the trip. Now, in my heart of hearts, I knew he wouldn't do that, but he did say, you believe in her that much? I said, I know her sports knowledge. I know what she knows. And he said, all right, I'll make you a deal. I'm going to the Phoenix Suns game on Tuesday. You pay for her to go fly, on Southwest to Phoenix. It'll cost you $100. And I'll have dinner with her. I'm meeting David Stern there later. He met her and he called me back the next morning and said two words that I can't repeat, and said, you're right.
Right.
I'm hiring her. And that changed everything. It was because I knew what made her special. So again, it's really important for agents to know that.
I think I like this discussion because what it's bringing to light is that, there's no secret council of agents behind some gray wall that's sort of against actors that or talent, and that you don't have a magic button that you push to make people famous either. We're all sort of, you depend on the success of your clients as well. And would you agree that maybe when an agent isn't as responsive to the person who they represent, it might have less to do with the agent not wanting to help that person or blowing them off as much as maybe either not having good opportunities for them at that point in time, or potentially not having all the information or knowledge about that client that they might need to actually advocate them? Because it sounds like this is really a partnership, and you really have to be a partner with your clients, which means you can only take on so many and focus on so many, right? So
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, it's really interesting because, first of all, what's really important for all of you to know is that being cast in a particular role, or being hired for something, or an agent taking on a particular client, is like dating. It's very subjective, and everybody has different tastes. I mean, you know, I would have thought everybody growing up loved the Beatles, but they didn't. Not everybody, when Matt Lauer, who was my client before his unfortunate fall from grace, I thought everybody thought Matt was the best interviewer in the mornings ever, but not everybody did. Not everybody, you know, thinks that, I'm the right agent for them. Um, a lot of people have and do, but that's the good news. It's like a horse race. Everybody sees things from their own subjective point of view. So it's really important not to take somebody not taking you on personally. It could be they have other people like you. It could be that it's the wrong time in their career to take you on. For example, I have not taken on anybody in the last 9 months because I've had 2 books that come out. So I could have been approached by the best talent in the world. I just don't have the time, and it wouldn't be fair to them to represent them and put them on the back burner because I have to now pursue what I want to pursue. So there may be so many reasons why at this point in time it's not working out. And I get that on the back end. I'll approach, when I was looking for clients, I could approach 10 people and 7 of them will say, no, thank you. Or 8 of them may say, no, thank you. 2 of them say, oh, yeah. But 3 or 4 of them come back in the next few years and say, I was represented by somebody, but I think you're better. Or I was under contract and didn't need an agent. Or I didn't think I needed an agent, but now I think I do because I want to make a big move. So they didn't reject me. They had their own subjective reasons why they weren't ready, and it wasn't the right fit at the right time, or it just wasn't the right fit. So please don't take rejection or no thank yous as anything personal. It really is could be a bunch of reasons, and some of it is just subjective. And sometimes if you have 2 or 3 of the same people and you're looking for those 3 people, you go, oh my God, is it really fair to take on somebody else that I have to launch right now? So please be aware. The other thing is that I only take on people who I'm passionate about. I do, because if I don't, I won't get my best effort. But remember, a really good agent also says, just as much as I represent them, they represent me, because they are a representation of my taste and who I think is great. So they have to really be engaged. The other thing is, in major agencies and big agencies, and this is one of the reasons why I left a big agency, is that a big agency has tremendous overhead, and they have to represent people who are making lots of money now. They don't have the time to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years to develop people. My thing has always been to find people and develop them. And one of the things that William Morris and I didn't see eye to eye on when I was there is that really they only wanted me to represent A players, meaning that they're already making, a good deal of money, or there was a good deal in the offing, simply because they couldn't afford to have me, messing around with people who may take 6 or 7 or 5 years to launch. They just can't afford that. And they were paying me a nice salary, and they felt like, we're going to pay that salary, you also need to produce. Right. Having a far lower overhead, being an entrepreneur, I'm able to invest in people, which is one of the reasons why I became an entrepreneur. So just know, when you're seeking an agent, there are lots of reasons that it may not be a fit. And please don't take it personally, because all you need to do is find one. All you need is one.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you, Kenny. And it really put some perspective on, maybe not just running for those big six kind of names right away, and really focusing and understanding that you'll probably get more out of an agent who is kind of open-minded to actually developing people still and helping you launch your career. So is there a telltale sign, or do you just straight up ask, hey, do you develop, or are you only looking for, people who are making money? Like, how do you know if that agent is going to put the time and effort into you for 5 years to actually help you make your career?
It's so funny when people used to have a bit of a joke, and they say, well, when you call your agent on Monday and they say, have a good month, that's probably not the, have a good week, have a good month. That's
Right.
probably not the agent for you anymore. So
Right.
I don't think you ask that question. I think you ask that question if they're interested in you. Because if they say, I'm interested in you, then you say, well, do you really have the time to put into, developing me? And I think the answer, I think the agent would give is, well, if I'm saying I'm interested, so yes, I have the time. It's an important question, but I don't think it's the first question. I think the question, I think the thing is, you have to get an agent, as I said, on the hook, in the tent, and engage. And then you have a conversation, you get a sense of things. And one of the things I think you ask an agent is, what's my path? How do you see me getting to where I want to go? Because that shows, if it doesn't show that person's thoughtfulness and strategic way of thinking, it will get them to think that way. Because asking somebody what their path is to help you self-actualize really will give you a sense of, how they think and whether their ideas are right. And that's very important. And it's funny because somebody came to me just the other day who was unhappy with an agent, their agent. And I think they wanted me to represent them. And I said, I'm not taking clients on right now. But I said, before you leave your agent, who is very good at getting people very good jobs, have you asked that person what their vision is for your path? And if they give you the right answers, that's important. If they don't give you the right answers, or go, oh, we'll just see how it goes, I'll just send out lots of links. Well, that's probably not the right agent for you. They need a strategy. They need to understand what the steps are, what the positions are that will take you to the promised land, that will help you fulfill your potential. So I think it's important to draw potential agents out and see how they think.
I love that, which also kind of drives that point home of knowing yourself what you want first so that you can articulate it and then work out a strategy with your team. I often refer to the management or your representation or your team around you as kind of the engines, but you're the one laying the train tracks, right? You have to kind of understand at least where you're going, and then work with your team to support you to get there and come up with strategies to actually move that train forward. But it's kind of a lot of work to put on an agent or a manager to give them the entire sort of carte blanche on your whole future. They might just not do anything at all because it's too much work, right?
Right. And here's the thing, agents are so busy like everybody else is. People need black and white answers. They really do. They want, I don't know what you call it. They just want to know what it is you want. And it's really important because then they can go, okay, I get it. And there may be some people who come to me that I think are great anchors, but I don't think have, or at least haven't shown me the skills to become a major morning show host, which is much more about interviewing and giving people into a window of into your soul. It's different than just reading prompter, the evening news. So if somebody says, I want to become the next, Katie Couric, or I want to become the next whomever, Savannah Guthrie, then I would say, well, then I need more than evening anchoring. So it's important to tell people what it is you're aiming for. Doesn't mean there won't be detours in your choreography, because you may wind up doing something, you may wind up going into it and loving it, but at least in getting an agent, and for yourself, it's important to know either A, what your biggest goals are, or B, at least what you love to do.
Yeah. And then potentially finding ways to substantiate the proof that you actually have the ability to deliver that too, right? So then if you say, hey, I'm an actor, I want to be in big movies like Meryl Streep and actually those kinds of roles too, but all you have is a little scene that you recorded in a comedy improv class, that it might behoove you to go out and film something where you can actually showcase yourself in a role, like something that Meryl Streep would do in a convincing way, because that then convinces both the potential agent, manager, and the people he might be talking to, or she. Is that a correct kind of assessment?
1,000%. And in fact, one of the very biggest clients that I have represented through the years was in a venue that was pretty vanilla and sterile, just reading entertainment news. But when I had lunch with him, which is why it's so important for your agent to get to know you, when I had lunch with him, the guy was sarcastically funny. I mean, he had an amazing wit. And I said, oh my God, why isn't, that stuff on your demo tape? And he went home and actually made a tape with that on it. And he got this amazing job, and he became a huge network talent. Another one of my clients, same thing. I said, go home, do a demo tape with this, because I'm not seeing this. And this is what's going to take you to the promised land. They did it. And one of my clients became the host of Dancing with the Stars. So, Daniel, you're 1,000% right. You've got to show people, if you can, what they need to see, so they see things through your eyes. And a really good agent who's into developing people, I don't need to see it polished. I just need to see what can be.
Right. That's great. Thank you, Kenny. So at this point, if you guys have any questions, just post them in the chat. I'll bring them up if they're relevant here. As we kind of move out of the agent discussion, I do want to take a couple of moments here now that you've lent your wisdom, and we truly appreciate it. Maybe let's talk about Aspire Higher and why you feel this is the most important book you have ever written. You've articulated that to me, and I've read it. I think it's amazing. But why is this the most important book, and why now?
Well, we're all subjected to so much negativity and uncertainty. You hear about, obviously, COVID and the devastating effects of global warming and all the shootings and the smash and grabs and the inflation and the division in our country. I really believe that a lot of us are demoralized and we're emotionally stuck, and because we don't see a better way up or a better way out. So I wrote Aspire Higher to actually give people the formula to make life choices that instill positivity and love and feelings of high self-esteem and high self-worth in their heart. And as I talked about earlier, when you begin to make life choices and put your life on a really great path, it makes you feel great. You get the confidence that you can affect positive change in your life. You feel masterful, and you begin to develop confidence, high self-esteem, feelings of high self-worth. And when you start to make more and more great decisions, you begin to feel worthy of that better life that you're crafting. You begin to feel like you deserve good things in your life, and you develop self-love. And when you start to love yourself and the life that you're crafting for yourself, you're far more likely to make great life choices for years and years to come, because you love yourself. You want to be healthy. You want a better life. You want a great family. You want a great career, because you feel like not only do you want it and you can have it, but you deserve it. that you're worthy of good things in your life. And when you feel worthy, you tend to make more and more great positive life choices to reflect that, to bring it on, to increase it, because you're in the groove, you're doing it, you're rocking it. And I also believe this book is really important because not only do we elevate ourselves through the life choices that we make, but when we feel self-love in our hearts, we're more likely to bestow love and kindness and civility and mutual respect unto others. So that what I call an Aspire Higher is a triple bonus. Through your positive life choices that instill high self-esteem and self-love in your heart, you're one, motivated to elevate yourself. Two, you're organically motivated to elevate others. And three, together, we elevate our country, which we so need right now. We need more peace. We need more respect. We need more kindness. We need more of a collaborative spirit. So the reason why Aspire Higher has been the #1 best-selling self-help book, self-esteem development book, motivational book, and spiritual book, new book on Amazon in the country, is because I think we all want a great reset and jumpstart of our lives and our spirits in the new year.
That's great. And that's exactly, why that mentality, and you actually coined, you created a new type of psychology through this positive life choice psychology, which you break
Yes.
down in the book. There's actual practical steps here to be taken. And I want everybody here to understand that, and future people, when we send this out to our mailing list, to understand this isn't some woo-woo like thing. It is practical. It's based in, science and actual life experience. It applies to everybody, even if I am a very personally fulfilled person. I have a very good work-life balance, and I'm autonomous, and I've achieved a lot of the goals that I've set out to achieve personally already. And this book has still allowed me to assess where I'm at, make some really impactful changes that have already benefited my family life, my business life, and how I think about things, and allow me to wake up in the morning. Again, not to be cheesy with the name here, but to aspire higher every day. And once you read the book, you'll understand what it really means on so many levels. So I want to thank you for writing this book, but then also let everybody here know that for that reason, every Dracis member, every one of you guys, like you already might know, you can email me your address. You'll get a free copy mailed to you just by being in my community here as a Dracis member. And we want to send that book out to you so you can benefit from this positive life choice psychology. And it will, what I like about, I don't remember where I read this, Kenny, in the book, but you talk about the benefits of being good, essentially, to yourself, and how that allows you to be good to others. And there is a karmic sort of payback for that, but that's not why you should do it. You should do it. What's the term that you use? It's
being a solutionary.
Yeah, a solutionary, as opposed to can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It's really interesting because I have boy-girl twins, and in high school a couple of years ago, they were taking a course in psychology. And they came home and they talked about being a solutionary. And I figured that a solutionary meant that when somebody is faced with a problem, a challenge, a question, a life detour, a setback, a solutionary is somebody that finds a constructive solution for themselves. And I am very much that person. I believe in finding the most constructive solution to anything and everything. But that's not what a solutionary means only. It has a much higher and more beautiful calling. A solutionary is somebody that not only finds that great solution for themselves, but also one that benefits, that elevates, and uplifts others. So when you're making your choices, when you're figuring out your paths, you want to also think about how to positively impact others as well, or at least not hurt others in your choices. Because think about it this way. If we are all solutionaries, can you imagine what a much better, kinder, more collaborative country we'll have? And I also believe that when you do things that benefit others, it puts more love in your heart, more self-esteem in your heart, because you're proud of what you've done. You're proud of how you've conducted yourself. So it makes you feel really great. And at some point in the continuum from when we started, making life choices that give you confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, and being a solutionary, at some point, I believe you go to the final phase of love, which is altruistic love, which is doing something for the pure reason that it's the right thing to do, because it benefits others, it uplifts others, and it supports others. But the payoff for you is it makes you feel great too. So it is this great, healthy cycle of doing things for others, being a solutionary, bestowing altruistic love on others that makes you feel amazing about yourself. And in as you said, not to be cheesy, but I will be. At the end of Aspire Higher, there's a poem, and the final line is, when there's a final history, I can say, I'm proud of me. And you know what? When you're proud of yourself, when you feel great about the way you conduct your life, you feel great. And I promise you, your life choices are going to reflect how great you feel about yourself, because you'll continue to make great life choices. And when it comes to your career, you want to make great life choices. The difference between people who have potential and fulfill it, I believe, are a few things. But one of the most important elements in attaining your potential, in making great, choices, is that being a great choice maker, because your choices are like train tracks. Trains go where the tracks take them. Your life is a reflection of your life and career choices.
That's amazing. Wow, that's great. So guys, if you have any questions for Kenny here, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to start winding down here. And Kenny, that reminds me of a phrase, it coincides. I love it when knowledgeable people say things that coincide with things that I've, little nugget you pick up here or there, or ideologies of other good establishments and thought processes. I know there's a lot of reflection in your book on sort of the Jewish outlook of things. It's not a Jewish book, a religious book by any means. Obviously, being a temple member, you have that bias and you can see things through that lens. But there's another organization that I'm a member of that's not a religious organization, and one of the sayings there, and it's all about helping good men get better, that we say, when you're born, you cry and the world laughs or rejoices. Live your life in such a way that when you die, you laugh or rejoice and the world cries. And I think that sort of sums up in another way exactly what you write about in Aspire Higher, which, I truly believe in what you're preaching here and writing. And what I love about it, guys, is really that there is a practical application to this stuff. It's not just a bunch of theory. There are lists, there are steps you can take, there are ways that you can improve yourself immediately, consciously, and that will improve your relationships, it'll improve your lives, it'll improve your business, it'll improve your longevity and your happiness on this planet. So first of all, thank you, Kenny, for writing this book and bringing your wisdom to our community here. And I'm going to just check the chat here if anybody has any questions. So here Kima says, what's the standard deal when you sign on new talent? You mentioned 5 to 7 years, a career launch. Please tell us more about that. So Kima, can you maybe unmute yourself real quick and just ask the question?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for joining us, Ken.
Hi, Kima.
Hi there. Yeah, the question is, can you tell us about that initial process of, hiring on it, partnering with new talent? What is it you look for? How does that deal go down? What does a contract look like? I have no idea. And then, yeah, you mentioned the 5 to 7 years. What does that look like? And I appreciate you saying that, because obviously, your first deal isn't going to be a national commercial right out the gates, right? And so
Right.
that kind of want you to know that gives me the insight of, hey, remember to be patient through this. It's going to be a journey, but how
Right.
great would it be to have national commercials 5 years from now, right? Let's work to that. And I'm just
Absolutely.
curious what that looks like. Yeah.
Well, first of all, Kima, I have a specific sort of set of criteria that I look for. I look for someone who is real, who people say is authentic, who's comfortable, who's warm, who brings people to them. So that's what I look for. And my clients tend to be a certain kind of person. They tend to be warmer than most, because I also represent hosts and not just newscasters. So I tend to look for people that I really like, who want to be people want to invite into their homes. So there's, again, I have my subjective taste. And let me tell you, there are certain people on TV that I may have seen. I may have even passed on their representation, who are major, major, major talents. It's just they weren't right for me. But so first thing is, I will take somebody on who I really believe in, who meets those criteria. And one other one, they break through the clutter. So if you have 3 TVs on and one of those people is you, I'm going to gravitate towards you because of something that you have that the others don't. And then I'm going to find out what it is that you aspire to do. And I'm also going to say what I think you can do, because sometimes what people see themselves doing, I may actually have a broader spectrum. I may say, did you think of this? Have you ever thought of this? And then we'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, the captain of the ship is the client. Some agents have a huge ego and they may see it differently, but I work for the client. They're the principal, I am the agent. So they tell me what it is they aspire to do, and I create the choreography, the steps to help them get there. And one of the biggest things is figuring out what venues will showcase their gifts to take them to the promised land, to get that national commercial. Or what jobs or venues will help them shore up some deficiencies. If, for example, somebody comes to me with a demo tape was taped as opposed to going live, I will tell them that if they want to host the Today Show one day or want to do something at a network, they need to get live experience. So they need to go to a local station and do live reports every day. So I figure out the choreography to help them get to where they want to go. And it may be 5 to 7 years. Who knows? It may be a meteoric rise. It may be a slower build. The one thing I tell my clients, don't compare yourself with others. Just, be true to yourself, blaze your own trail. We'll be creatively aggressive in our choreography to help you get to where you want to go.
Amazing. Thank you, Kenny. Mariano has a question. Do you want to unmute, Mariano?
Yes, hi, Kenny.
Hi,
So
Mariano.
I completely love what you're saying. It's
Thank you.
amazing how you were inspired, how you got into the industry. I just got into this industry about a year ago. And also this idea of giving and looking out and talking to other people. I can really connect with that. And so I had a specific question. One of the members here, who I feel like she's amazingly talented, and she came up with one unique idea to do a sequel to a very famous movie. And I'm speaking on her behalf without mentioning any specifics, but I had this idea that she can reach out through the agent, the actor. This is a very famous actor, Oscar winner and stuff, through the agent, to show the script and the sequel of this movie. So she can, if she sells the idea and the passion and her unique writing, that the agent would be interested in connecting the actor with the screenplay writer. and then they can see if she has more control, creative control of the screenplay, which is a mini series of 7 or 10 episodes. So what do you think about that? Because I'm not an expert in the industry, but I just know common sense and business sense. And I think the agent would be interested in connecting the actor with the screenplay writer.
Mario, I agree with you 1,000%. If an agent is reputable and appropriate, they should forward everything, unless it's something so way off, to the client. I forward everything to my clients. I let them decide what works for them. I don't want to be that gatekeeper, in the sense that I never want a client saying to me, why didn't you forward that to me? I never want to be that person who decides for my client what they should see and what they shouldn't see. So one of the ways the question is, how do you reach the agent? I will tell you, depending upon whether you have a connection to that agent or not, I would talk to that agent's assistant and get that agent's assistant engaged in the idea and explain it to them. Because I will tell you, I have, as Daniel knows, an amazing executive assistant who's been with me for years. And the reason why I hired her is because I could talk to her and she would help me get into her boss's office. And so I want her to be that person also who doesn't, maybe the word is screams, but at least hears the idea. So she knows what I need to spend my time on. So assistants are key to this. So if somehow your classmate can't get through the agent, or maybe they can, maybe the first step is engaging the assistant and getting the assistant on board to go in and say, I heard a really good idea. I think you should listen.
Yeah, sorry, because I know you mentioned it, and Danielle mentions how to articulate. That's the key, right? It's you have this passion, but you articulate it. And this writer, she spent a year and a half writing 80 hours a week. And I've been in the table read of this writing, and it matches very closely what the Oscar-winning screenplay was. And she's super talented. And so I understand what you're saying is find out the executive assistant and then articulate this. It's not just an idea. This is the episodes that are written over a year and a half of her dedicating her full life into this. It's there. The writing is amazing. And so that's how you would pitch it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And pitch it the way she understands it, because obviously she better than anybody has an idea of why this is the right fit. And just say, I'd like to leave a message for whatever the agent's name is, but it's got to be, if you are able to engage the assistant and get that assistant as your advocate, they're going to return your call a lot quicker. If she goes into her boss and says, this is really good, this is interesting, we should call her back, or we should get a copy of the screenplay, or we should do whatever we should do.
Awesome. Yeah.
By the way, Mario, one other thing, a lot of these assistants want to be agents. A lot of these assistants are agent trainees. So if they are able to spot something good, they get kudos for that. So they have skin in this game too.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
And you probably see this, that you see so much talent in this industry, and it's that self-sabotage, or almost limiting themselves because they don't see their talent, they don't see the value in their talent. And I've seen it with actors and writers, and you go, oh my gosh, like you have so much talent, but they don't believe in that they could aspire for something. Aspire higher. That's
Aspire higher. Well,
that's what Aspire Higher is all about.
Yeah, they need to read your book.
That's right. Mario, in my book, I talk about the fact that oftentimes we make decisions or choices when we are hijacked by our emotions, fear, frustration, desperation, and we make the wrong choices. Or we have so much fear that we have fear paralysis. So you're right on target.
Yeah.
All right. So we have time for two more. Thanks, Mariana, for that there. Seth, want to unmute yourself?
Hello, Kenny. How are you?
I am well. What's your name?
I'm Seth Hampton.
Hi, Seth.
Hi, you're just wonderful. You're awesome. Everything about your presence is just spot on. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
You had touched on the concept of authenticity.
Yes.
And wow, that's just something that's always a game to try to figure out how to present yourself in an authentic way. And you mentioned about not being too polished. And that's one thing that I've always kind of battled with, is being too polished, but yet not wanting to be amateurish and being taken seriously. And what's the fine line of like, how do you really find that authenticity without trying to find it?
Speak from your heart and speak with your passion. Because again, I didn't mean to say you can't be polished, because I think I'm polished. I'm not slick. Because to me, slick is almost a defense mechanism. And somebody who's slick to me, it's really interesting. I found for years, I saw this male anchor hosting this entertainment show, and I never called him. Handsome, really good. Never called him because I thought he was slick. And then I saw him do a live interview where all of the tape stuff, all of the perfection was sort of dissolved, and you just saw him. And I called him immediately and I said, you are in the wrong vehicles for you. You should be an interviewer because you talk authentically. You're just you. You're not trying to be an anchor man. You're just you. And I said, you are amazing. Well, that person became my client and became one of the biggest hosts in television history because he was just talking with me. He was just himself. There was no pretense. So what I'd basically say, Seth, is don't even think about it. Just be your authentic self. Speak from your heart. Be who you are. And, let it reflect your true self, because that's what people, I believe, really respond to is your authentic self and who you are.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
I
It really does.
wouldn't even think about being this way or that way. Just be you.
Yeah.
Sort of, but they say in golf, just grip it and rip it. Don't think about, how you do it. Just do it.
I love it. And Seth, you are a very cool person. So I think we all struggle with that a little bit. We want to give people what we think they want to see, as opposed to just giving them ourselves. And we see that in audition processes a lot, where actors come in and sort of deliver the lines the way they maybe think we as the director or casting department might want to hear it, as opposed to just the way they would do it.
Well, but there's an interesting part about that. During the couple of moments, Daniel, when I did actually bring in actors and actresses, there was this actor that I brought in, and he is handsome, and he was very stately. He just had an air, I don't want to say an air of superiority, but he had an upper crust air about him. And he's going in reading for Three's Company. I mean, I'm really dating myself here. So, and he goes in and he reads in his upper crust, way. And the casting director said, oh God, this guy is they shut him down at about 3 words, because they're looking for Jack Ritter. They're looking for somebody who's funny and campy and real and, And I said to the client, I said, I love you, but when you go into that casting director, you need from the get-go to be the character they're looking for. They don't have a lot of time. They don't want to say, oh, well, if this guy were this and he lost his accent and he didn't speak like this, he might be right. They want to see and hear their vision of that character. So, I think acting is what it is. You have to give them exactly what they want in an audition that way. But when you're being yourself and you're talking with somebody, as a human being and not the character, that's when I think you have to be the authentic self. So if he had gone in there and been, you know, I mean, if Jerry Seinfeld had gone in with a British accent, I don't think Jerry Seinfeld would have gotten the Seinfeld show. He came in as a New Yorker. Now, afterwards, you know, in his conversation, he can be who he is with the director. But when they are looking to cast something, I think you have to give them. So it's that balance.
Right. And I always, you know, what you bring as an actor then is that certain extra element that you have that makes you unique, right? So you're not changing
To be a chameleon.
to be a chameleon, and you're delivering it still in a way that there is a, like, because, you know, not Seinfeld can be Seinfeld, but if, let's say, Jason Alexander came in for the part of Seinfeld, there's also that part that he's just not the right fit for it. So
Right.
that's a part of auditioning too, is just understanding that you're not going to be the right fit for most projects, but you got to go in there, deliver it, and not be discouraged that if, you know, you don't get picked, that somehow you could have done something, you know, terribly different that would have gotten you the part. It might just not be a good fit.
Right.
But let's move on. Two more. Kenny, do you have time for two more questions, or do you got to
Of
run?
course, for you, anytime.
Thank you. All right, so let's go to Texas here. Texas.
Hey, Kenny, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
What a great supplement.
What's
to
your
what,
name?
Daniel teaches. My name's Texas.
Hey,
Texas
Texas.
Blackwell. Nice
Pleasure.
to meet you, sir. Hey, you know, you have such a great sense of peace and love about you. And I'm
Thank you.
pretty sure everybody saw that as soon as you started talking. But in general terms, I don't want to get too personal, but what can you describe your daily spiritual practice to us? What keeps you focused and meditate, whatever you meditate on, what you think about?
You know, I've gotten to the point, Texas, where I just want to be the brightest light in other people's lives as I can be, which means that I feel good about who I am, but I also believe that I continue to be a student of life every day. I see the things I do right, and I, say I applaud them, but I also see the things that I could have done better, and I try to improve all the time. You know, I've always been a tennis player, and on the tennis court, you have to continue to assimilate information. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? If I'm not beating this guy, what do I need to change? Am I not playing the wind right? Am I hitting too hard? Should I hit with more topspin? Where's the sun? All of those things, so that I can perform to the best of my ability. But also, tennis is very subjective. You have to play to the person you're playing with. Certain people do well when you hit the ball hard. They don't like slower balls. So you just have to figure out, well, in life, for me, it's the same thing. I think about, could I have been more sensitive? Could I have handled things differently? So what I try to do is continue to evolve every day, be smarter, be better. But I love being a bright light in other people's lives. I know it's corny, but it makes me feel great when I can uplift somebody and say something. So many times, before COVID, I'd go out to a restaurant, and the first thing I'd say to the server is, how are you today? And almost to a person, they say, oh my God, nobody ever asks how I am. Well, that made me feel good. And when I walked into the, office building, I try to know everybody's name, and I just try to say, how are you, Joe? How the kids today? Because they told me, how old their kids are and where they are. I feel like I'm honoring them and making their day just a little bit better, and that makes me feel great. And when I get somebody a great job, in my work, and they trusted me with their precious careers, and I've come through for them, it makes me feel good. So I like being of service. It really makes me feel good. Now, a few, 20, 30 years ago, I might not have had the same answer, but I think I've grown. I think I've evolved, and I'm trying to continue to evolve, because I think that's what's really important in life, continuing to grow and evolve.
Do you have a sort of a ritual that you do on a regular basis, or do you just kind of try to be mindful of this as, throughout your day?
Well, I do, I do pray. I do believe in God. But as I say in positive life choice psychology, you can lift your life no matter whether you believe in a higher power or not. I think it helps in certain instances if you do, because um, when we're happy, everything's going well. But when somebody pushes our buttons or something really horrible happens, it's nice to have a strong foundation that you can get through this through the life choices that you make. But it's also quite helpful to believe in a higher power, because I also believe that things happen for a reason. And I believe that I talk about this in Aspire Higher. It's my just trust rule. So many things that I didn't want to have happen happened. So much rejection that I've had with different situations. People who have had health reversals. So many things. There was this book that was written by, which I've not read, by the way, but I love the title, by Harold Kushner. Why do bad things happen to good people? There's some things that happen in our lives that we can't explain, that we don't deserve. But I tell my children, believe that there's a reason why this is happening, that there is a higher path. And I've seen so many situations in my clients' lives, in my life, in my family's lives, where something really negative has happened, or something that just we didn't want. But it turned out that it happened for a very good reason. It put us on a different path. It made us do something different. It made us learn something we would not have learned, which prepared us for something later. So I very much believe in the rule of just trust. Be proactive, do the best you can to choreograph your life, make great life choices. But there's some things that are unexpected. And I believe you just have to trust that there's a reason why this is happening and make the best of it. That's when you become that constructive solutionary decision maker. When, the cliche is, when you're given lemons, make lemonade. Well, you've got to be the best lemonade maker you could possibly be with the sweetest lemonade, because life doesn't always go the way you want. And if you want to grow, you have to step out. You have to take risks, calculated risks. And it always won't work. It always won't go your way. But you have to believe that it's a learning cycle, that you'll be better for it, that there was something to learn. So again, I really believe in this just trust rule of, even though things happen, you've got to believe there's a reason for it.
That's great. And I think a good note to end on is what Joanna's question here. So Mariana, your second question, why don't you email it to me and I'll talk to Kenny off record. Any further questions, just post them in the Facebook group or email me. Joanna, let's finish with you.
Hi, Ken. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Joanna. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I guess my question, it was a little bit on a personal note, a little bit personal, but it was, what life lessons led you to believe what you believe?
More specifically, believe, for example, what I believe in, this just trust rule, or just generally. I mean, what would you like me to sort of focus on?
Let's do the just trust rule.
Well, I've had a lot of defeats in my life. I've had, I can't tell you how many times that my books were rejected. How many times I was told when I was a very overweight child and a late bloomer that a lot of people didn't believe that I was going to amount to much. We all have our challenges in life, but what I've seen over and over again is that if you are constructive with the setbacks and figure out a really good way to deal with the setback. Let me give you an example, which I think will help. this is one of, I think, the lessons that has changed my life. And that is when I was a youngster, I was about 16. By that time, I'd become a pretty accomplished tennis player back on the East Coast, where I'm from. I'm from New York City. And I was winning a lot of junior tennis tournaments. I was New York City champion. I was New York State champion. And I went into a men's tournament because I wanted to get the experience. And I played in this men's tournament. And in the second round, I played this really talented left-handed guy who's about 35 years old, and I was 16. He had a lot of experience, and he had this great left-handed serve. I mean, he really knew how to play the spin, and most of the people who I played either were right-handed or they didn't have as big a serve as this person had. And I lost the match like 6-1, 6-love. And I was devastated. And I wanted to like quit tennis. You know, if I didn't take my rackets and break them, I would have, but I don't think I did. But my mom, who spent so much time with me, helping me through my early years, let the dust settle a little bit. And she knew that I was so demoralized. She came to me and said, okay, let's figure out what the constructive solution is to this. And she said, I think you should get a left-handed tennis coach and let him teach you the footwork. Let him keep serving to you and let him teach you the footwork so that you know how to deal with that left-handed spin next time you're faced with it. So we found a great left-handed coach. He became my coach. And a year later, I played the same guy with the same left-handed serve, and I beat him 6-2, 6-2. And that for me was an epiphany, because that night I was lying in bed and I thought, a year ago at this time, same tournament, a year ago, I was lying in bed crying, thinking I never wanted to lift a racket again. And now I'm feeling fantastic. And what did I learn from this? That when we suffer a setback, when I suffer a setback, the key is to calm down, relax, and figure out what a constructive, smart, wise solution to the problem or issue is that's facing me or that I'm facing, and go out and do it. And that experience of becoming a constructive decision maker, no matter what's going on, because one of the things that my clients rely on me for is that when their careers are going to hell in a handbasket and everything around them seems to be going wrong, that I'm going to help them come up with the calm, constructive solution. So that was a life lesson for me. The second part of so there are really two parts to the answer of your question. One is being a constructive life choice maker, find the constructive solution. The second part is that when there are things I can't control, I mean, I can control the constructive solution. It's my constructive solution. But when there are things that happen that I can't cure, an illness, a death, something, or just something that's unexpected, not catastrophic, but unexpected and demoralizing. You just have to trust that there's a reason why this is happening. And I believe we're brought onto this earth to learn lessons and to grow, to evolve, to be better. And so I believe that you have to trust that there's a reason this is happening, and that you just have to keep the best attitude and remain constructive, even if you can't control what's going on. Because maybe you were meant to have a life lesson, as I said, that will prepare you for something down the road, or it's going to make you do a detour in your career or in your life. And it could be a great detour. And it may just be that there's something that happens that there's no rhyme or reason for. You just have to trust.
Thank
And
you.
that's my philosophy.
I think that's a great philosophy. And it allows you to look at obstacles as roadblocks that are there, but not showstoppers. And I think that's always the hardest part, is fighting that urge to want to walk away from something when it gets really tough. But then oftentimes the mine of minerals and the gold is right behind that next
Yeah.
stroke that maybe you would have given
Right.
up on.
Right. I agree.
Longevity, perseverance, persistence, positive attitude, being helpful. All of this is summarized in Aspire Higher, guys. Email me for your free copy if you are a Dracis member. And to all you Dream Reachers, thank you for joining us today. Kenny, my dear friend, thank you for doing this and taking an hour and a half out of your day to be here with us. I really appreciate it. And I know that everybody here appreciates it. You're out there changing lives. You're out there doing big things. I'm excited to maybe have you on here again in the future sometime, but if nothing else, I'm looking forward to seeing you and Melinda soon.
Absolutely, Daniel. That's my pleasure. I'll happy to come on anytime you like, my friend.
Awesome. All right, everybody. That concludes
Okay.
our Q&A. Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Kenny.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, Kenny.
Have a nice
Okay.
day.